Hello Internet, it's Matt here for the Dork Lords. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We talk about all manner of dorkly things here, so whether it's sci-fi, fantasy, superheroes, we probably have a playlist about it. Feel free to check us out. Today, it's going to be a preview for the upcoming series dropping this Friday, May 31st. It is based on the book Good Omens. I'm very excited about it. It's going to drop on Amazon. There are 6 episodes, so it's somewhat of a mini-series. It's going to tell the entire story of Good Omens. The showrunner is Neil Gaiman. Awesome. He also adapted the screenplay. He is one of the 2 original authors of Good Omens, so you feel like it'll be faithful to the book. And what a book it is. I mean, honestly, just to show you exactly my passion for this book, I have 2 first edition books in I'm not a book collector or whatever, but there's some books that if I really like it, I'm like, ooh, I wonder if I could get a thing. So I have 2 first editions. One of them is At the Mountains of Madness, H.P. Lovecraft, and the other one is Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. It's an amazing book. I even actually, I'm not doing this to brag, like check me out, first editions. It's more to show you, I really like this book. It's actually got their autographs in there, pretty awesome. And actually the really coolest part is on this back cover. It's gonna be a little glare here, but I think it's important to show you. So this is, these are the authors, right? So there's Neil, there's Terry, and they are posing for this picture as 2 of the characters from Good Omens. And I think that's, this actually kind of gives a little insight into what they think of themselves, I think. So, Neil Gaiman here is posing as the demon Crowley. Crowley is going to be played by David Tennant in this series. Terry Pratchett is posing as the angel Aziraphale, who's going to be played by Michael Sheen. And so as you see Michael Sheen and David Tennant acting, you can maybe put the voices of these 2 authors into their mouths. Just kind of a cool thing. So, yeah, so what is Good Omens? Good Omens it's a fairy tale about the end of days. And so you kind of have to come at it from the knowledge of these 2 authors, what each of these authors brought to this table. I came to Good Omens because I was a Terry Pratchett fan originally. I read the Discworld series. If you haven't read the Discworld series, do yourself a favor and go read it. It's over 40 books. It's amazing satire. I guess the closest way to say would be like a Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide type thing, but not in a sci-fi setting, more in a medieval setting. And it's just spot on satire and such clever writing. The word choice and word usage that Terry Pratchett has, off the charts, amazing. He passed away of Alzheimer's very tragically. So he's no longer with us to write amazing books, but he was 1990 at the height of his powers, and he and Neil Gaiman worked on Good Omens together. Neil Gaiman so you got the satire from Terry Pratchett, and then you've got Neil Gaiman brought this idea of like macabre fairy tales so you combine satire with a fairy tale, and you end up with Good Omens. Think of some of Neil Gaiman's best works, American Gods, the Anansi Boys, a lot of these themes. He wrote a book on Norse mythology. So it's about religion a lot of times, or the mythology of religion, and taking that into kind of a fairy tale context. And he's not afraid to go into the darker recesses of some of these mythologies. And so you've got this kind of these dark overtones. I mean, it is the end of the world after all, but then with this humorous satire that undercuts it all, that really makes for a really cool, unique feel to a story, and that is Good Omens. It was originally, they published it in 1990. But it's set in modern day. So that'll be one of the interesting changes when this comes out in, obviously 2019. I assume that it'll be updated so that it's not happening in 1990, it's happening in 2019, and all of the different cultural and technological advancements that comes with that. So you've got two figures, Crowley the demon, Aziraphale the angel. They're kind of like middle management. You know, the powers that be. Actually, Satan is being voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch. So the angel Gabriel is John Hamm. I believe Frances McDormand is voicing God. I mean, the cast in this thing is really, really, really cool, really exciting. But so the powers that be are like, yep, end times, let's do this. This is kind of what's called for, and we're in the middle of it. And so Aziraphale and Crowley, who are on opposite sides of this war, have been with humankind, you know, since the dawn of time, and kind of like their gig. And they would rather the end times not happen. And so in their own middle management way, they are going about attempting to thwart the end of the world. Meanwhile, you've got the four horsemen of the apocalypse, who again are going to have their own modern context. Now they're not just, you know, big thing on horse. They've adapted over time into modern life, and they're all coming together to push the end of the world. And then you've got the Antichrist, who is a kid, Adam. But Adam has been switched out. There's a nature versus nurture context here where Adam is actually being raised by just a well-adjusted family hanging out in England, and he's got a group of friends. So it's he and his three friends. The four of them are called them. And you've got the four kids and then the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and they're somewhat at odds, basically, as we try to avoid the end of the world. Michael McKean is in this as well. Miranda Richardson is in this. They play these witch hunter characters that are very interesting. There's a lot in this, but really, really, really tight, really well done. I'm hoping that they, as much as I'd like to see and not be told, in this case, the words are really, really good. So a bit of narration wouldn't hurt this at all. And I have a feeling Neil Gaiman will pay a little homage to that. I think it's going to be a spectacular series, and can't wait to see it. When Terry and Neil collaborated on Good Omens, you know, it was in the late 80s, so they were sending each other floppy disks, and they were talking on the phone every day. And it was Terry who was the editor, who basically, you know, put everything down and kept track of it. And so Terry was the one who really focused on Adam, our Antichrist, being raised in a nurturing environment. And then it was Neil Gaiman who worked primarily with the four horsemen originally. Now, once they got to the end, you know, they started sharing each other's ideas and such. But as you watch Good Omens, think of four horsemen was kind of being pushed by Neil, and then them, the group of kids, was being pushed by Terry. And you can kind of see again the influence of their writing on those particular characters. It was interesting when Terry sadly passed. One of the things that he demanded basically was that his unfinished works be destroyed. And so to honor him, I believe Neil Gaiman was involved in this process, but there was a big, kind of a festival practically. They took Terry Pratchett's computer and they ran over it with a steamroller, so that his unfinished works would never be finished by someone else. They would, honor the memory of Terry. And so this, fortunately, was a work that was finished, and I'm so glad to see it brought to the screen. If you like this, I already mentioned you should check out Terry Pratchett's Discworld, which, if you're watching this channel, you probably have. But I would also suggest checking out Neil Gaiman's short stories. He's got a few different anthologies now: Smoke and Mirrors, Fragile Things, Trigger Warning. His short stories are really well done. They're so eclectic and have some real interesting insights into humanity, and then just these amazing little bits of supernatural wonderment. And the short story in particular that I think would be great to put up on the screen one day, hell, even on stage, it's called Murder Mysteries. It's from Smoke and Mirrors, the anthology Smoke and Mirrors, and why no one has done something cool with Murder Mysteries yet, I'm not sure, but it's like it was made to be put on screen. So there you go, Murder Mysteries. That's just throwing that out there. That's a little extra, a little bonus in our preview section. But in any case, Good Omens, we'll be covering it. I'll talk about episode 1 next week. I think Paul will be on vacation, but when he comes back, he'll be talking about Good Omens with me as well. So thanks, everybody. Looking forward to Good Omens. Bye now.